Okay, you are finished with your mid-unit assessment now, and you are ready to get started with our second activity for the day. I'm just going to introduce our Chapter 3 question and then give you some instructions for reading and annotating an article. So let's jump to 3.1, and this is a warm-up. I'm not going to ask you guys to complete this at all, so you don't even have to go into Amplify. You can just kind of watch this video. We have a new message from Dr. Corey, and he says, "Great work, student ecologists. The econauts had not realized that a change in the population of decomposers could have had such a dramatic effect on the other organisms in the biodome. Before they plan their next biodome, they have one more question. They want to know what happened to the carbon that used to be in the air of the biodome. We know that the decrease in the decomposer population caused the carbon dioxide in the air of the biodome to decrease. But the econauts need to know what happened to all that carbon. This is your last mission for the biodome investigation team, so we're hoping that you give it your best." I think some of you, your knee-jerk reaction right now might be, well, the carbon in the atmosphere might have floated away or like got through some of those seals in the like in these little panels. And I just want to let you know right off the top, this is a closed system. So it recycles the carbon. It does not allow any carbon out. None of these, it's not because of a leak. So I want you to start thinking about where would the carbons go if they're not in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, where else could they be? And start thinking about that idea of a cycle in a closed system. Okay? All right, so let's do focusing on activity. We have a Chapter 3 question. It is just what happened to the carbon that used to be in the air of the biodome. Carbon is an important part of the two ecosystem processes that we've studied so far. We've studied photosynthesis and we've studied cellular respiration. Remember in Chapter 1, we talked about photosynthesis, which is the process of creating ESMs, and those, of course, contain carbon. And Chapter 2 was about the process of cellular respiration, and carbon is given off during that process. Remember, the amount of carbon in the biodome ecosystem decreased after the experiment began. So let's review what we've learned. Basically, we've got this new graph. We're looking at carbon dioxide, which we know decreased. The sunlight and the water stayed the same over time, so they were stable. And in year 3, this is when the econauts began to notice that the plants and the animals weren't getting enough energy storage molecules. So you all told me, this was at the end of chapter 1, told me it was because of this decrease in carbon dioxide, because if there's not enough carbon dioxide or carbon, if there's not enough carbon, let's say, this is key concept number 5, when there's less carbon in the form of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, in the air, in the abiotic matter, then there's not enough to make ESMs, and so there's going to be a decrease in ESMs in the biotic matter. Okay? So remembering all of that, I want you to take that with you when you start reading this new article. We're going to have an investigation question. It is, if the amount of carbon changed in one part of a closed system, what happened to the carbon in the rest of the ecosystem? So in your Schoology, you're going to see that you've got an article called Carbon in the Global Ecosystem. It's 4 pages. You're going to read and highlight. I want you to annotate by summarizing the paragraphs. But remember, if a paragraph is like 1 or 2 sentences long, you don't need to summarize that. I also want you to summarize, take a look at the graphs and the different graphics. This one right here probably doesn't need a summary. I kind of want to know what are you looking at here? What is this telling you? So that might be a good thing for you to summarize. When you're finished, I want you to hand that in. This is not due until Monday, so if you need to work on this over the weekend, you can. Okay? All right, you guys, have a great weekend, and I'll see you